Mini habits, smaller habits, bigger results by Stephen Guise. Learn to develop and maintain positive habits. Do you find yourself automatically scrolling through social media first thing in the morning? Or have you recently started buying a sugary pastry every day and are concerned about making it a habit? Habits play a significant role in our lives, and we all have them to varying degrees. Some habits are beneficial, some are not so beneficial, and some, like those daily donuts, can be quite harmful. Our habits are significantly influencing our lives. Have you ever felt like you are on autopilot? When showering or brushing your teeth, we often don't need to think about these actions. This is because we have turned these essential daily activities into habits, tasks we have performed so frequently that they become automatic. In fact, a significant portion of our daily activities are driven by habit. A Duke University study found that 45% of our behaviors are habitual. We are most likely to slip into habitual behaviors when we are stressed. A UCLA study revealed our tendency to revert to habits under pressure, when tired, or when overwhelmed. Unfortunately, this occurs regardless of whether the habits are good or bad. Why does stress impact us like this? Stress often results from difficulty making decisions. Habits, however, do not require decision making. They are ingrained into our routines and brain. When stressed and unable to make choices, we turn to our habits. If you often chat online or eat donuts when stressed, it is likely they are habitual behaviors that you may want to change. The good news is that bad habits can be altered. Habits are merely neural pathways in the brain that strengthen with use and weaken when unused. You create habits by repeatedly performing activities until they become easier. So, if you want to start waking up earlier, the first few weeks will probably be at least somewhat tough, as those neural pathways are still weak. But eventually, your brain will reinforce the connection between waking up and getting out of bed earlier, while the habit of hitting the snooze button weakens. Before you know it, your neural pathways will take over, leaving you refreshed and ready to face the day earlier. Our brains have a powerful system for forming habits. Imagine needing to make a well-informed decision about every product you purchase at the grocery store. Shopping would take a little bit longer. That is when habits become useful. A part of our brain called the basal ganglia handles programming our repetitive behaviors, so we barely have to think about them. For example, when choosing an ice cream flavor at a fancy shop with many tempting options, sometimes we'll go a little crazy, but sometimes we'll just pick vanilla. Why? That's thanks to our basal ganglia. It is what we are accustomed to, and if we don't want the stress of making a new decision, We just go with what we are familiar with. The more we repeat a habit, the stronger its record becomes in the basal ganglia. For example, after consistently turning on your computer and logging into Facebook right away, your brain will eventually go on autopilot. That is how we sometimes end up on Facebook without even realizing it. The basal ganglia's influence is often so strong that it overpowers the part of our brain responsible for conscious, rational decision-making, the prefrontal cortex. Unlike the basal ganglia, the prefrontal cortex of your brain considers long-term consequences of actions and abstract concepts like morality. However, the prefrontal cortex has a significant weakness. It gets tired fast. Making the right decision is, in fact, a massive energy drain for your brain. While we might easily resist the ice cream in the freezer for most of the day, chances are, after a hard day's work, your prefrontal cortex will be exhausted. At this point, your basal ganglia takes over, and you will suddenly find yourself holding a big bowl of cookies and ice cream again. Willpower, rather than motivation, is key to developing good habits. Motivation is certainly helpful, but we are often most motivated to do things we enjoy. I mean, how much motivation do you need to go on vacation? When it's time for tasks like spring cleaning, however, motivation seems to vanish. Motivation has its drawbacks, mainly because it varies based upon how we feel. It's very ethereal. On a great morning, it's easy to wake up and do 20 push-ups before breakfast. But not so easy after a long night of drinking and a hangover. Moreover, motivation declines the more we repeat an activity because it becomes dull, normal. Relying on motivation alone for daily tasks like brushing your teeth would lead to a lot of days with no brushed teeth. Can you imagine if every single day to brush your teeth you had to say, am I feeling motivated enough? I'm just not really feeling it. No, it's a habit and you just do it. You don't have to feel motivated. In short, motivation is not enough to establish positive habits. Fortunately, there is a better tool that strengthens with repetition rather than weakening, and that tool is willpower. Psychologists recognize the benefits of willpower. One professor even had his students exercise their willpower for 2 weeks to improve their posture in class. Not only did they sit straighter during lectures, but they also exhibited greater self-control in other aspects of life. Each time you create a new positive habit, like daily meditation, you flex your willpower muscle. You can apply this muscle to other activities as well, such as cooking fresh meals every day, staying connected with family and friends, and accomplishing your goals. Unlike motivation, willpower is much more reliable. As you build it up, you can depend on it more and more. Mini habits are the most effective way to use your limited willpower. You could try making it a habit to do 100 push-ups every morning, even if you don't do any push-ups right now. However, your willpower may begin to falter after 20, and soon you might be reaching for those cookies again. Willpower is great, but it can be challenging when first exercised. How can we strengthen our willpower from the beginning? The answer is mini habits. By setting small, almost laughably easy goals, you can avoid depleting your willpower. The main enemies of willpower are effort, perceived difficulty, and fatigue. So why not choose a goal that requires minimal effort? Selecting an easy goal eliminates the perception of difficulty and is not intimidating enough to cause mental or physical fatigue. In other words, it is an all-in-one remedy for weak willpower. Mini habits also get you moving, and once you are in motion, you need a lot less willpower to continue. As Newton's first law states, an object in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon by an external force. In other words, the biggest challenge we usually face is the first one, transitioning from inactivity to action. With a mini habit that helps you start small so you can ensure a smooth beginning. But you might even discover you can accomplish more than you initially thought. For example, you might complete 5 push-ups, even though you only set a goal of doing 1 push-up. It may not seem like much, but you will be surprised at how proud you feel of yourself for not only accomplishing, but exceeding your goal. This creates a positive cycle going forward. Mini habits offer a wide range of additional benefits. Remember that person you always wanted to ask out, but never had the courage to approach? Try taking a step towards them. Literally. Just take 1 step towards them. And then another. Repeat this a couple times. Soon enough, you'll find yourself face to face with the person you admire. And once you're there, might as well say hi. By attempting things you were never brave enough to do before, you can experience how mini habits boost your self-esteem. Our self-belief often weakens over time due to unreasonably high expectations from parents, teachers, and eventually ourselves. Fortunately, mini habits give you the unique chance to experience success instead of failure. Multiple times a day, over and over, you will experience a small win. When you set goals that are easily achievable, you will feel great. Regardless of how small the accomplishment is, it is an accomplishment. Compare this to facing the reality of not reaching your one big goal every day. Are you going to feel happy and positive and confident? Or are you going to feel like a failure? Do not aim to become a famous pop star overnight. Instead, practice the piano for 5 minutes today. And once you accomplish that, you can practice 5 minutes tomorrow. Over time, this will build. Mini habits also help you feel more in control. People dislike feeling out of control, or worse, being controlled by others. We prefer making our own decisions, as this brings us happiness. A survey in Denmark demonstrated this, showing that up to 90% of employees are much happier when they have control over their work and can make executive decisions. A huge goal, like dedicating yourself entirely to helping the poor and needy, can consume your time and energy until you start to resent the goal itself. In contrast, a mini habit, like the habit of giving a coin or dollar to every person who asks for a donation, is simple, creates positive personal interactions, and allows you to live your life, all while starting you on the path to becoming a more generous person. Design and create your mini habits thoughtfully. Now that we have explored the benefits of mini habits, it is time for you to develop your own action plan. Where should you begin? First, choose your habits wisely. Start with a list of habits that you would like to adopt at some point in your life. You might want to learn a new language, read more, enhance your math skills, or become more fit. Next, ask yourself why these habits appeal to you. Why do you want these? This helps you ensure you have the right motivations. For example, why might you want to learn an additional language? If you are passionate about travel and different cultures, then your reasons are solid. But if you are simply trying to impress colleagues and friends, think carefully about whether these external social pressures might be negatively influencing you. Don't let this affect your habits and your life. Habits should be based on what you genuinely want to achieve. Once you have a list of motivated habits, it is time to create corresponding mini habits. If you want to learn Spanish, make it a mini habit to learn and practice one Spanish word a day. If your mini habit is so small that it seems silly, it's perfect. That is exactly how they should feel. Mini habits should not be intimidating. They should be so small that you can include several of them in your daily routine without feeling intimidated. After determining your mini habits, define and write down your habit cues. Habit cues are signals that remind you it is time to perform your mini habit. Suppose you want to do a yoga pose before breakfast. The time of day, or feeling hungry in the morning, could be your cues to engage your mini habit. Track your progress and remember to reward yourself. Mini habits are easy to achieve, so aim for a 100% completion rate. The best way to avoid skipping or changing your mini habit is by keeping a record of your actions, so make sure you write everything down. A 2013 psychological study showed that writing down your thoughts made them more prominent in your mind. Apps like Lyft, that's L-I-F-T, not to be confused with the car app Lyft, and Habit Streak Plan are perfect for tracking your habits. Or you can use a more traditional approach with a large calendar to monitor your progress. Choose a method you will look at daily. This way, you can consistently remind yourself to complete your habits, maintain your progress, and potentially develop more positive habits over time. Soon, you will be making great strides. You might even achieve much more with your habit than initially planned. If you surpass your goal of writing 50 words and write 500 instead, that is fantastic. However, do not let these bursts of energy confuse you. Suddenly changing your habit to writing 500 words will not be helpful, and it may become more challenging to sustain even if it seemed easy at first. If you exceed your goals, congratulate yourself. But remember to consider that is more like a bonus, not a reason to push harder. But what if writing just 50 words feels dull? That's great. It means your mini habit has become a genuine habit. It is something that you can now do automatically, without any resistance. This accomplishment is worth celebrating, so reward yourself. Keep in mind that it is not only the end goal your habits lead to that matters. Developing a daily routine filled with beneficial rituals is also an achievement. Instead of trying to motivate yourself to reach intimidating goals, take things one step at a time. By establishing a routine of positive mini habits, you will experience small successes every day while making real progress towards your true aspirations. This concludes Mini Habits.